Throughout history, freethinkers have outraged the religious with their wacky ideas about the virtues of free speech, reason, and of course, eating babies. Now, God is dying, and it's time to dispose of his remains. From the pits of hell, Satan sends two puppets of the imperialist West and the Zionist Jews against God, Islam, and tiny kittens to bring you their propaganda and conspire for a new world order. This is Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment with Ali Rizvi and Armin Navabi.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment. My name is Ali Rizvi, and with me is Armin Navabi. Armin, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Hold on. Let me actually bring this up on my phone so I can see the live chat and everything. Guys, if you're in the live chat, let us know if the audio is okay. And if you are watching this later, make sure that you become a patron so you could join us in the live chat so you could have these discussions with us live and you could ask your questions. Cool. All right. So what are we talking about today, Ali?
I lost my audio.
What are you doing?
Give me a second.
Okay. Oh, we have to. Okay, so let's do the
you should be able to hear me now.
Let's try this again then. Let's try this again.
Yeah, for some reason it keeps on unplugging my audio. If it doesn't work, I'll just get my iPhone headphones if it happens again. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment. My name is Ali Rizvi, and with me is Armin Navabi. Armin, I'm not going to ask you how you because that audio issues and
good.
everything.
Thank you, please.
Well, yeah, you just told me. Okay, that's great. Okay, so what we have. Okay, so what we've gone on today.
No, I thank the devil for you not asking me how I am doing. That's very. Let's go with that from now on. It's such a dumb question. Yeah, let's go with that.
I'm never gonna ask you how you are.
Never ask me that again. Yes.
Good. We've got some sort of really, with all of the news about the cap and the election and everything, there's a lot happening internationally.
Right, the audio is choppy. I don't know if it's just choppy for me or is it choppy for everyone else?
I think it's choppy for you because yours is choppy for me. I think you're having a connection issue today.
Oh, okay. All right. Hopefully it'll get better.
I don't know. Someone will tell us. Okay. So, but in any case, right? So what's happening is that there's a lot of other really big international news stories. Sorry, Bulbul, is my audio choppy? We got to figure this out. Oh, I am. Okay, so I was wrong. Sorry, guys. Let me go get we're going to start this over. I'm going to get my iPhone earphones. Okay, out of the USB thing.
Oh, no. That has nothing to do with your earphones if you're choppy.
No, it's definitely the audio because it's on disconnecting me. So it's definitely that.
All right.
It has to be that.
Go.
So, yeah.
All right. Can you do this fast, please? There. All right. Well, Susanna, do you mind hopping back in while Ali does this? Yeah, Jeremy is saying it's going back in for Bobo. Okay, let me see who's in the live chat. I'll just hang out with you guys until Ali fixes. George is here. Jeremy is here. Bobo is here in the live chat. Susanna is going to probably join me. Armin is about to lose. No, it's okay. Why are you saying that? Susanna's saying Armin is about to lose his mind. I'm okay. Armin was happy with Ali for a second. Yep. Okay, no, Susie. Ali's back. You don't need to come. Your audio is crap, Ali. Say something. Ali?
Okay, can you guys hear me?
You're frozen. Yes. Oh my God.
Armin,
Ali.
can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Yes.
I'm going to leave and I'm going to come back.
Oh my God. Okay, Susie, come back right in. I can't. This is amazing. It's always Ali that has a problem. It's always Ali that has a problem. Susie, come back right in. Oh, there we go. Oh no, Ali is coming. Hey, Ali, are you okay now?
Okay. I am okay. It seems like it. Is it smooth?
All right, let's just get started because we're already late. No, Susie, you don't need to be here. Ali is okay. Goodbye.
Okay. All right.
Susie just came for a second. Okay, good. All right. Bye, Susie. All right. Ali.
Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment. I'm hearing some echo, but anyway, welcome everybody. What the
Just say, oh my God.
It's killing me. Hold on.
Just say it.
All right. Welcome everybody to another episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment.
Oh my God, Susie.
The audience
you don't need to
be crazy echo.
Huh?
The audience is getting crazy echo from Ali.
Oh my God, Ali.
From me? Okay. Listen. I'm gonna come back again. Hey, it's gone. Is the echo still there?
Is the echo still there? Okay, good. No, it's not there. Continue. Ali, start from the beginning and please don't fuck it up again.
Hey, listen, man. It's not. I can't figure this out. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment. My name is Ali Rizvi, and I'm with Armin Navabi. And this is like the third time we're doing this. So I'm going to get right into it. There's between all of the headlines that we've been hearing, right, with the Capitol raid and the election and all this other stuff that's going on, there are a lot of big international news stories that have been kind of falling and slipping under the radar. And that's one of the things that we're going to cover today. So we've talked about this before. We've talked about international human rights abuses by countries like Saudi Arabia, and that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. Okay, so here's a little bit of background and what we're going to get into. And Armin, I'm going to go straight to you after this to get your perspective on it. Recently, the Saudi women's rights activist, the revolutionary Loujain al-Hathloul, so she's one of the people who fought for women's right to drive, and a lot of the sort of the rights that women are finally getting in Saudi Arabia. She was recently sentenced, right, just weeks ago, to 5 years and 8 months in prison. And the crimes, quote unquote crimes, that she's accused of, or charged with, or convicted of actually, is talking to Western diplomats about her fight for women's rights and for applying for a job at the UN. Okay. She's already been imprisoned for more than 2.5 years already, and she's already gone through torture. She's gone through sexual abuse and all kinds of terrible things. And on top of that, the sentence came in. But the judge did give her credit for the time already served and suspended part of her sentence. And this is very unusual because this means that she could be released as early as March, right? As early as just like 2 months from now. She will still have 3 years probation. She'll have a 5-year travel ban. They're going to try to disincentivize her from activism and everything she's doing. So recently, the Washington Post editorial board, right, wrote an editorial. And they were saying that this leniency is, quote, almost certainly a result of US pressure on the Saudis, particularly by the incoming, well, now it's already there, the Joe Biden administration. Because apparently President Trump, in the past, essentially gave the Saudis a blank check to do as they wished. And as you know, he defended MBS and the killing of the Khashoggi, and he vetoed the bipartisan measure to stop the support of to stop the U.S. supporting the Saudis' war in Yemen and selling them arms and so on. So this is kind of what we're going to talk about today. Right? Is this new administration, is this going to make a difference? Does U.S. pressure on the Saudis, is it possible it'll start working because of the lower dependency on Saudi oil? Is it possible that the Saudis are more susceptible to it? So this was kind of an interesting thing. Armin, have you read the editorial?
Not that one. I read some other commentary on it, but I read a whole bunch of other things with regards to Biden's freeze on the arms sales against Saudi Arabia, because to me, that is more important than this one person being free in 2 months from jail. And I do think, but I do want to, before I switch to that, I do want to focus on this case a little bit, but I do want to even criticize our community a little bit for not knowing what to focus on and being, but yeah, I mean, this is a small sign of progress, in my opinion. And I do think that the Saudis know that the pressure is going to be on them, and obviously they're reacting accordingly. But I hope that Biden doesn't get distracted with symbolism. And just because the Saudis do a couple of things here and there, like release a few prisoners or let women do this and let women do that, and then some bloggers write their stuff, I hope that doesn't become an excuse for Biden to be like, oh, look, progress, we could go back and sell weapons to them again. There is the main thing I want to see. Again, there is some human rights issues that is very, very surface based, but gets a lot of attention. And when it comes to the number of people that are being impacted, it's significantly less than what actually matters, in my opinion. But they get the most attention because they're sexy. Again, I'm not saying that feminists being in jail it's not an important issue. It is an important issue. But these are easy wins for Saudi Arabia to give the Biden administration in hopes that Biden could go out and show this to people and be like, okay, we could go back to sell weapons, right? And yet the number of people that are being impacted by the weapons trades between, United States and Saudi, the Yemenis who are being constantly bombarded. Like, let me actually show you what I have on the screen right now. We have UN Humanitarian Office puts Yemen war dead at 233,000, mostly from indirect causes, right? So this is what United States, this is by the UN News. And this is what this 233,000 people, for me, is something that gets a lot, what I noticed, it gets a lot less attention than one woman in prison in Saudi Arabia. And so United States and Canada and Germany and United Kingdom have been aiding Saudi Arabia's war on the Yemeni civilians and children. And sometimes I feel like maybe putting feminists in jail is a great strategy for Saudi Arabia to let them go when an administration wants to put pressure on Saudi. So, because right now, for example, we have Biden saying that they are going to. So here's another article by the New York Magazine saying America is complicit in Yemen atrocities. Biden says that ends now. This is great progress. This is great news. Biden just put a freeze on the arms sales to Saudi Arabia. This happened faster than I assumed. And this should be celebrated, but we should also be mindful that this gets undone. I'm going to talk about this a little bit going forward, comparing that to some other countries. But right now, if we're focusing on comparing this to Trump, this is all the wins that we needed is just this. Like, this by itself is enough to justify anybody that voted for Biden. Like, if you guys were worried about Biden doing wokey stuff, saying some stupid crap, not knowing what he's saying, none of that it matters compared to this. This is a lot more significant. This is people, civilians and innocent children dying, and United States aiding that. And Biden is stopping that. So no matter how, if this freeze continues, and if Biden doesn't undo it because Saudi Arabia just gives the United States some symbolic thing, human rights things, what?
Like a prisoner release,
Yeah, yeah. If this freeze continues, unlike some other countries where they did some freeze and then they undid it, this by itself will be more important. If you actually care about humans, if you're a humanist and you care about human lives, if anybody distracts you by Biden saying some stupid stuff about race stuff, some stupid stuff about like some wokey stuff, defending some people that you don't like, every single one of that is going to be insignificant compared to this. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people dying, and United States is leading the way now. It seems like leading the way in stopping aiding Saudi Arabia. Okay, so it's going to be beyond United States. If United States, because for so long Trump gave the excuse for so many other Western countries to look so progressive and so much more humanist, and that just by this one action, now United States went from looking the least progressive to now looking like the most progressive. Now you could go ahead and shame United Kingdom, Germany, France, Canada, and every single one of these countries, because instead of United States being behind them on the Saudi Arabia issue, United States now is ahead of all of them on this issue.
Yeah, so I think that that's exactly, I completely agree with you. So I think what you're saying is that sometimes when they do this prisoner release, you're wondering if potentially the Saudis think of this as a strategy that will make these like these one or two or three people sort of symbols of what we're holding, almost like little singular superficial hostages. And then when they really like, okay, we released one prisoner, now start selling us arms again, right? So that trade-off, it works well for them. But I think what the editorial was getting at, the Washington Post editorial, what they were getting at was this sentence that Loujain al-Hathloul got, the sort of commutation of it, the suspension of it, really taking a 5-year sentence and lowering it down to where she can be released within just a few weeks from now, right? They're looking this as a sort of, they're checking the temperature, right? So they're saying that, okay, this is a sign that with this new administration, right, the Saudis are more susceptible to U.S. pressure than they were when Trump was like sword dancing with them. And, basically, now, the arms sale thing, Congress had actually voted against selling arms. Like both parties together had voted against it. Trump vetoed that, right? He overrode it. The Congress had actually voted to stop funding for the war in Yemen. Republicans and Democrats had voted for it. Trump vetoed it. And this is around the same time that he was defending MBS, after the killing of Khashoggi. So that I think is what the article is about. That it's not about whether this one prisoner really matters more than anything else, and all the other 233,000 people who've died in Yemen. But is this one judge sentence that just happened recently? Is it a sign of things to come? That when the U.S. pressures the Saudis, they're more susceptible to it than they were well before when the U.S. really, really needed them for their oil.
Right. My concern is that these editorials and these people keep falling for the same trick, right? And they look for signs rather than actual measurement of human lives, right? And that's why symbolism, and also because they're writing editorials, symbolism gets more clicks than statistical number of like Yemenis dying and people starving. These don't get the clicks. So if they could show you there's a shift happening, and it's mostly symbolic rather than the number of people that are being saved, they will even they will push that narrative, right? But the thing is that also Saudis know that gets the most clicks. So just like these are the same people who fell for the reform promises of Saudi Arabia before, and now they might be seeming to, again, this is a red flag for me, because they might fall for it again. And if, again, there's nothing like, I don't think like Biden is this great person. He's also like following the trend. If he notices that he could go back into the arms deal because Saudi Arabia gave some symbolic wins to them, and people are like, oh, look, the signs, and like, I don't know, give women a whole bunch of other rights again. I mean, Saudi Arabia has so very little rights for its people that it just has a lot. It's an endless amount of symbolic things that it could give while it continues to, kill a whole bunch of civilians, right?
So,
I'm hopeful, but I'm also cautious, because if Biden notices that he could satisfy the people that in the arms in the military industry, while also getting some congratulations from these editorials for looking like, oh, look, you pushed Saudi Arabia to release five or six women. I mean, again, I hope I'm not dismissing that as these women shouldn't be in prison, and there's a whole bunch of other things that might happen that we could be happy about. But at the same time, this is something that they might dangle in front of you as progress, but while they're murdering innocent people. So just be mindful of that. Like, I'm hopeful because, again, the reason why I'm hopeful is because it's not because of just this release. It's because how long has it been Biden administration? How long has it been since they started?
Not even a month. I mean, just a couple of weeks.
The fact that they put the pause on 7
days, 1 week.
Yeah, 1 week. It's been 1 week, and they put a pause on arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Like, this is amazing. I hope it's not just something that they're going to undo, because Canada did the same thing and then they undid it. So I hope this is celebrated more than the woman being released or something like that. Yeah,
so I think that one of the platforms that they had, their condition was clearly about the Yemen war, right? The atrocities in Yemen. So I think that the way that it seems, right, the way they presented their platform to the campaign, and it wasn't just Biden, it was all the other Democrats as well, is that the war in Yemen is something that the U.S. should not support. In fact, Congress voted against the war in Yemen. Trump vetoed it, so he overrode what both parties wanted. So this is something they've been wanting to get done for a long time, and they also had a separate thing on the arms deal. So I think the whole idea is that if he sees, he's like, okay, we're freezing the arms sales. They're like, okay, look, listen, we're releasing these 3 prisoners. They're like, well, yeah, are you still keeping the war in Yemen going? Yes, we're still keeping that going. That's the same as ever before. Then I don't think that's going to work. I think they're pretty aware of that at this point. And the most important thing is they don't really need Saudi Arabia for example, oil. They don't need them for any economic reason. But there is one thing that they do need them for, right? And that is their deterring Iran, right? So that's the one aspect of it. If there is a deal, if there's something that MBS does, okay, we're going to help deter Iran in some way. I mean, that is potentially something that the U.S. can be, the U.S. might negotiate on. And this is me being very cynical, where the Yemen thing continues to, I don't think it's going to continue to worsen. I think there's going to be some sort of like a negotiation on it, but that's basically the thing that the U.S. wants to work with the Saudis on. It's probably their only real interest right now in Saudi Arabia.
I think that the war in Yemen has given Iran a lot of excuse. Again, the Islamic Republic, I shouldn't say Iran. A lot of excuse to, I don't know, like I don't think they need
excuse for what?
For getting involved with the Houthis. The Houthis now need Iran because of the war in Yemen, and this is why they became a proxy of Iran. So it's basically every time Saudi Arabia fights Iran's government, it keeps helping them for some reason. Like, it keeps making them, like, Saudi Arabia is the best enemy the Islamic Republic of Iran could ever hope for. So every single thing that they ever did as a move against Iran's government has been to the benefit of them. Like, this is like not, if the United States wants to take a position against stronger positions against the Islamic Republic of Iran, Saudi Arabia is not your best ally. Israel knows how to fight back against Iran, but Saudi Arabia is the worst, right? I do want to read some tweets by 2 senators. One is by Chris Murphy, saying the weapons we sold to Saudi Arabia and UAE have been used to kill school children, transfer to extremist militias, and fueled a dangerous arms race in the Middle East. This is the right move. So he's referring to Biden freezing the arms sales. The time is now to reset our relationship with Gulf allies. Another senator, Senator Bob Menendez, is that how you say it? Welcome this pause and review of these arms sales that we inexplicably okay, I can't read. Rush without thorough review of implications of U.S. national security and protection of innocent lives in Yemen. I don't like the fact that it's a pause, but because there's a bad history. I will go through it in that history later. Once you comment. The second part of this tweet says, I encourage the Biden administration to carefully consider the broader regional security implications of these sales and to consult with Congress as it continues its due diligence on these and other arms sales. Okay, guys, by the way, this is like, I don't know if people understand how big of a deal this is. Okay, there's a lot of money involved in these arms sales, more money than anything that Trump administration or Biden administration could impact. Like we're talking the biggest deals in history. Okay, so for Biden administration to put human rights ahead of this amount of money, this is a cause for celebration, in my opinion, way more than Saudi Arabia releasing one feminist. Okay, and again, I think that these senators congratulating us also put some political capital behind this move, and I hope everybody pays more attention to this rather than any carrots that Saudi Arabia wants to like dangle around human rights activists, because if this gets reversed, like these politicians need to know that they can't just like excite us for a bit and then eventually they undo it. There needs to be, if there's political capital right now in favor of making a move like this, there needs to be a political cost, a huge political cost for them to undo this, because people will get distracted very fast. People will yay, thank you, Biden. And if they notice, as soon as they notice people now are forgot about this and the number of people that are paying attention to this is less, if people don't congratulate this enough, then the politicians are going to be like, maybe there's not that much benefit. I'm not going to get reelected over celebrating this that much. So there needs to be a lot of push in highlighting this instead, so that they know that undoing this will cost them. Because if undoing this does not cost them, then the money will speak a lot louder than the human rights activists. The human rights activists, everybody needs to pay attention to this. And I understand that the political motivation behind these senators and Biden might be something that is not for the sake of the humans themselves. It doesn't really matter. The result speaks for themselves, and people should go out there and celebrate this and congratulate Biden. Okay, I don't care if Biden comes out and says like something. Even if he says something that is anti-white racist, you go like, oh my God, this is like not even borderline racist. This is goddamn racist. I don't give a crap. That's nothing compared to this. It's nothing compared to this. But go on, Ellie.
No, I agree. This is huge. And what's two things to me that are really, really interesting about this. One is that it seems like the Biden administration is going to have a very different approach than the Obama administration. The Saudis themselves have acknowledged that. So, you know, what's this pausing of the arms deal? I just realized that this happened just after we actually posted that we're going to be doing this live stream, right? Like this happened just in the last 24 hours, right? It just happened very recently.
Yes.
We didn't know. So that's kind of a coincidence. It's a great thing that they paused it. I didn't even know it until you started talking about it. So, you know, so that's one thing that's going to be very different from the Obama administration, number one. The Saudis themselves have acknowledged that. And again, Biden has been around. He's been involved in this region for 30-something years, way before Obama was in the picture. So he's already had his views on it. He's been around that region a lot. So he's very, very familiar with it in a way that most other people aren't. And a lot of newbies who are coming in, seeing Biden as this new thing, they don't realize that he's had this sort of very long history associated with the region. The second thing is that they're coming back to after Trump, like this entire place has changed. The dynamics of the Middle East have changed, right? You have this alliance between, Israel can fly over Saudi airspace. You have the UAE that has diplomatic ties with Israel. You can take a flight from like Tel Aviv to Dubai, direct flight, right? And you can fly over Saudi Arabia. You have these relationships that they have now with Sudan, with Bahrain. So it's a very different thing. The Iranian situation is very different. The Iranian deal is off, right? That the Obama administration negotiated. So he's coming back to a very different Middle East, a very different geopolitical sort of milieu in the Middle East that did not exist when he was working with Obama. And we know that him and Obama actually disagreed on a lot of the foreign policy Middle East issues that they worked on. Obama also helped support the Saudi war in Yemen, right?
Right.
So so there are many things that are actually different about this, which may be why Saudi Arabia is a little bit more wary now that the Biden administration's in, and they also have a majority in the Senate and Congress and everything like that. So I think that's a big deal. But how do you think the fact that the Middle East is so different? You have all these new alliances, and there's this sort of anti-Iran axis that is composed of Israel as well as these really, really the biggest economic powerhouse Arab states in the region, and they're all allied with Israel against Iran. That whole dynamic, in the absence of the Iran deal, how does that change what from the Obama era policy? How does that change?
I mean, okay, so Biden is so far the first week has been better than Obama ever has been on this, right?
Yeah,
again,
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, this might be because the Middle East just matters less now to the United States than before. Okay, so this might not be because I don't know Biden is this amazing guy. No, it's because it seemed like it as right now, United States is going to focus more on China relative to the Middle East. Again, this could change. Okay, but that's what it seems like the direction that we're going to be going. Right. So that frees up their hand to at least pretend to care more about human rights than they used to. Okay. I do have to say, like, okay, so Obama did do arms sales with Saudi Arabia. He did try to reduce it, especially after Saudi Arabia bombed a funeral. I remember that was like, apparently that was Obama's red line not to stop the arms deals, but to maybe like, can we just like send less weapons to people who are bombing innocent civilians? Like, we can still do it, but can we do it less? Trump was a disaster. Trump actually increased it exponentially compared to Obama. And Biden is just putting on a full freeze on it. Okay. And so, yeah, so you're right. It might be mostly because of the nature of the whole situation is changing. In the Middle East, and again, it's not just the Middle East; it's also because of other elements outside of the Middle East that it was becoming more of a concern. I do think like the weapons industry needs to be promised some other fear. If this is because they're just way too powerful for them to be completely ignored. Like, we're talking about the world's largest weapons deal. Okay, this amount of money is not going to be like, oh, okay, I guess you guys are just gonna like ignore what we want. Like, these people will find a way to get what they want, and they have the money to back it up, right? But they might need to be promised, I don't know, something else somewhere else. But we need to find a way to make these vengeful gods happy in a way without actually paying the price in body bags. But yeah, you seem to be.
No, I was saying that there's one important thing that during Obama's time, and yes, I remember this Fareed Zakaria interview. Fareed Zakaria interviewed Obama when Obama was about to go and visit Saudi Arabia, and he asked him about Raif Badawi. He said, there's a blogger there, it's jailed. Are you going to bring that up? And Obama, in that interview, actually said, well, no, I'm not going to. He said that he probably won't because he has to balance their national interests and what they want to get with, how much they want to provoke Saudi Arabia. So it was that kind of hedging that was doing. And I remember it was infuriating watching that at the time. because him just saying flat out that he wouldn't do it. But what's interesting is that one thing that Obama did do, to his credit, is when Obama started in 2009, the U.S. was very, very dependent on Saudi oil. When he left, the U.S. didn't really need Saudi oil that much. So that's actually one aspect of the 8 years of the Obama presidency, where he helped make the U.S. much, much less dependent on Saudi oil than they were before.
Oh, that's actually a very good point. You could say that Obama and maybe laid the groundworks for Biden to be able to make such a move. Is that what you're saying?
He did. I mean, if you look at the dependency then, and you look at how much, I mean, Obama himself, remember, he bowed to the Saudi king when he was like bowing. He went there. They all used to kiss his ass. But then towards the end of it, I think right now, I think it's just in the single digits, like the percentage of oil that the U.S. gets from the Saudis. That's why the whole vision, the Vision 2030, whatever he has, MBS, he started that. He's trying to get foreign investment. He's trying to open up the society a little bit. He's trying to make it, the women are allowed to drive. It's because they know that the oil thing is just not the cash cow, and it's decreasingly going to be in the future going to be a cash cow for them, like it was in the past. It's just not going to be. So that dependence on the oil has decreased, and a lot of that is actually credit to Obama during his 8 years. So that groundwork started getting laid around that point. Trump came in. I don't know what was up with Trump when he went in, and because Trump, when they say, I don't think it's any exaggeration when the Democrats say that he essentially gave them a blank check, like to cover for them with the Khashoggi thing, to veto this bipartisan agreement that we shouldn't be selling arms to them, we shouldn't be supporting the war in Yemen, and just single-handedly this one executive president just vetoing that is bizarre. But he did always kowtow to these dictators, right? I mean, he did the same kind of thing with Putin and everybody else. So I feel like the Biden administration is now kind of picking up and building on that foundation now that they're a little bit more liberated, right? They have more leverage over Saudi Arabia. They know that Saudi Arabia is more susceptible. So they are they're bringing their sort of their values more and their national interest a little bit less, because they don't have as much national interest there as they did before.
All right, let me just clarify a few things, because I mean, just to be clear, like I'm not under any illusion that any of this is being done because politicians are like, this is out of the goodness of their heart. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We don't know. We don't care. At the end of the day, studies show that the dollars make all the difference, and that's where the votes will go. That's where the policies will go as well. And this is why people focusing on green energy is going to be make it so much easier for these politicians to virtue signal with their human rights. I mean, we want them to virtue signal, but we want them to be able to virtue signal. And if they are less reliant on oil, it's going to be easier for them to virtue signal with. So there's two things. We want them to continue virtue signaling by acting like they care about human rights. Even if it's fake, I don't care. We need that. But we need to also want those virtue signals to be actually where the pain is, okay? Where the actual pain is. Again, this might sound so cold coming from me, okay? So I have to clarify this as well. We should, just because I'm not saying, because I'm saying that we shouldn't let Saudi Arabia distract us by, I don't know, like freeing Raif Badawi or freeing this feminist or letting women drive, or letting people go to theater, or letting women go to sports stadiums, or letting women join the army, and a whole 100 other things that they're going to throw at us. Just because I'm saying that we shouldn't get distracted by this, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be people pushing for these, okay? There should be, if Saudi Arabia is desperate to throw symbolic things at us, and if you're a human rights activist that cares about those symbolic things, use this desperation and go get those things. Go get all of them, right? But I'm just saying, like, don't let Saudi Arabia distract you while you are getting those things, right? Again, the reason why I'm very trying to be aware of this is because me coming from Iran and a lot of anti-government Iranian activists have become so aware and so used to seeing how the Islamic Republic of Iran uses distraction methods like this, while human rights as a whole is still a disaster. Like, the Islamic Republic of Iran was even flirting with letting hijab slide at some point. Like, they're even like flirting with that idea. And anybody like that comes and wants to be like, oh yeah, that's great. Like, you could see the level of awareness in Iran of how this is all symbolic has become so high that when foreigners come and see that as a sign of progress, they get a lot of hate from people in Iran, right? Like Christian Kapoor, for example, who's Iranian herself, got so much hate from Iranians inside of Iran when she told Zarif, Iran's foreign minister, that, oh, women being allowed in stadiums just a little bit, that, oh, she's like, oh, that's progress. And she got a lot of hate for that from Iran, because Iranians have become aware of how this game is played. So because of that background, and I'm used to that, seeing that's when I saw this in Saudi Arabia from the beginning with the Vision 2030 and all that, I kind of like, I've seen this somewhere before. So I was very familiar with how this game is played. And it was very interesting to me how even people from Iran who are aware of this, how this game is played, were congratulating Saudi Arabia, not because, and I was like, you guys are hypocrites. You guys should know that this is just a game, and these are just reforms because of, to cover up much larger numbers of human rights violations. But the reason why they were supporting it was because anything that a lot of the people who are against the Islamic Republic, for some reason in Iran, would congratulate all of Iran's government's enemies, which includes Saudi Arabia, for some reason, which is not a good thing to do. But I was very, from the very beginning, I was telling people that no, don't let this blind you. Okay, so one thing I want to mention, because I know we have a lot of ex-Muslims in our audience, and I think the ex-Muslim community is very guilty of this, and I kind of understand why they're guilty of this, is because they themselves deal with individuals, with people, ex-Muslims, who have very, very stories of struggle, dealing with human rights violations by the governments, and usually a lot of them are the victims themselves, and they have felt the desperation, the suffocation of the government not letting you speak, not letting you be who you are, not letting you fight for what you want, not being able to love who you want, not being true to your identity. So because of all of that, they Raif Badawi, or like who was that ex-Muslim girl who was like Canada, welcome,
Rahaf al-Qurun.
They care about that a lot, and they see that as major progress when there's any move on that front, right? But the ex-Muslim community, all of a sudden, they ignore, many of them, what's happening in Yemen. Okay, I mean, we shouldn't, just because we're ex-Muslim, we shouldn't be tribal. We shouldn't be tribal. Like, we shouldn't be celebrating Rahaf finally being safe in Canada more than this deal, because the people in Yemen who are being who are victims of deals like they're not ex-Muslim. They're some of the most conservative Muslims. They're some of the most religious Muslims in the whole world. And it might be tempting. I mean, that I can see why so many ex-Muslims care about one person like Rahaf or one person like Raif Badawi more than hundreds of thousands of Yemenis. But these are civilians. Okay, if you being ex-Muslim has made you care about one Raif Badawi or one, what was their name again? I keep forgetting.
Rahaf.
Rahaf, right? One Rahaf. More.
A lot of people are gonna hate you for this.
I know. I don't.
Great.
They come at me. Yeah. No, but yeah. Again, see, this is a great example, right? Me forgetting Rahaf. There are people in our audience who will get triggered more by me forgetting Rahav's name because she's like a very symbolic ex-Muslim activist that got free. She should be like, she's celebrated by ex-Muslims all around the world, right? But they do not care about everybody forgetting the Yemeni war. Like the number of people who have forgotten the Yemenis people, they don't get triggered by that, but they will get triggered by me forgetting Rahav's name, right? That shows where their priorities are. They like, even if they care, they're like, sometimes they're like, oh yeah, this is I guess this is something we should care about. Yeah, it's bad, it's war. Yeah. But then Rahav's situation, one woman, one person, this is like, they're so emotionally invested in that. But they're children that are slowly dying from starvation in Yemen, and disease and starvation has on purpose been used as a weapon of war against them. And they don't go beyond, oh yeah, that's bad, war is bad, oh I guess this is sad. But then, so again, this is ex-Muslims, they're not immune to tribalism, right? Like, this is not just like a Muslim or a Christian or a Hindu thing. I want to urge people to care about humans, and when they are prioritizing what they care about and what they want to push for, think about the larger impact and number of people that are being affected, the amount of misery that a policy or a form of activism is avoiding. Think about that as a whole, rather than what is the ideology of the people who believe in this, or whether it's a woman or a man, or again. So sorry,
I think it might be. Yeah, I think you might be being a little bit more cynical towards the ex-Muslim community on this, because I think some of this stuff is actually natural. It goes into what Paul Bloom talks about in The Case Against Empathy, his book. Like this idea. Hold on, it said that when you have if you see a picture of one girl who's got leukemia, one 3-4-year-old girl who's got leukemia, and everybody says, please donate to her to help with her treatment, loads and loads and loads of people will donate to her. But okay, we have a hospital full of kids with leukemia and we've got 200 kids, then people usually won't donate, because people just empathize and relate more to individual stories than statistics. I mean, this is something that people have done in political campaigns for the longest time. It's always good to have one person who is a symbol of something you want to get done, rather than just talk about the issue in general in large numbers, because that story doesn't resonate as much.
Yes, Ali, we know that story.
Huh?
Yes, but can I respond to that?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I was just saying that's one thing. I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong. I know that a lot of the ex-Muslim community has kind of downplayed the whole Yemen thing, and they do focus on individual activists. So there's that aspect too. But I think that this is another aspect. The second thing I wanted to say was what you said about the goodness of people's hearts and how it's all about dollars. So what happens, and this is kind of very typical of the US, is that there is more than other sort of superpowers in history. There is more of a humanitarian impetus for the US to do things when the dollars are not a factor. So if the dollars are a factor, like for example, China, the dollars are a factor. Saudi Arabia, the dollars were a factor for a very long time, right? Then the humanitarian thing takes the national interest takes precedence, economic interest takes precedence, and the humanitarian instinct or the humanitarian sort of impulse becomes lower. There's a lower priority on the totem pole. But when the dollars are less significant of a factor, like for instance, now there's less dependence on Saudi oil, then the humanitarian, the values things, that the human rights issues, they start becoming more forefront, because they can afford to make them more forefront. They're more able to be able to push for these issues. So I think that there is a goodness of the heart thing aspect that does drive these decisions with, say, the Biden administration. And one of the big reasons for that is because the dollars are not as significant a factor anymore like they were for the past 40 years.
All right. So you mentioned that you're being cynical with the ex-Muslim community, but this is natural. Well, Ali, I am being cynical because it is natural, right? And also, it's not just that when it comes to it being natural, it's not just what you referred to. That is true, like the whole one child in front of you compared to, but like Rahaf and the Yemenis, they're all far away from you. And this is not just about that. This is also tribal, okay? Because we also have a whole bunch of, we have pictures, we have stories of individuals from Yemen, from Syria, and I can guarantee you that if these were not Muslims, if these were ex-Muslims, the ex-Muslim community would care about them more, even if it was faceless people, even if it was a whole bunch of faceless people. But we also have pictures of people from Yemen, individual stories. No, it's not just about, oh, you need a face and a story. No, this is also, that's one natural element of it, but another natural element is the tribalism. And that's why I said that ex-Muslims are not immune to it. Why are they not immune to it? Because it's natural. But tribalism is also a natural part of our how our brain is wired. And but just because it's natural, it doesn't mean it should be excused. We can do. This shouldn't be nobody should use this is natural as an excuse, because we have proven to be able to do a lot better than our nature.
I know.
Let me finish, please, because I have another point to make after this as well. I said, Ali, I'm not saying that you're suggesting any of this. I'm just using it as a way to say something else. Okay. Natural is sometimes very bad. Okay. And humans, through coming up with standards and ethics and better systems, have managed to be a lot better than natural. Natural means that if your tribe invades another tribe, then every single woman gets raped. That's how we're wired to act. Okay. But we are, as humans, we have came up with better methods to live than that our nature will, so again, that's just wanted to point that out. But I do want to because we compared Biden to Trump, the Biden administration to the Trump administration, I really quickly, Ellie, if you allow me, if you don't want to say something, I'd really quickly want to compare Biden administration right now to Trudeau's administration.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so one thing that people did, for example, when it comes to Rahaf situation, was they congratulated Biden. They congratulated Trudeau because and Canada as a whole for accepting Rahaf so ahead of everybody else, right? So Rahaf was this ex-Muslim. She was in trouble. She was going to get deported back to Saudi Arabia. We have no idea what would happen to her if she got deported back to Saudi Arabia. Australia failed to step in. UK failed to step in. United States failed to step in. Canada was there. Canada stepped in. Canada welcomed her with open arms. And people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yay, Canada. You're the role model for human rights that we want. Okay. Well, if you celebrated Canada for that, now it's time to shame Canada. If you want to compare that, because now when it comes to actually a much higher number of human lives, United States is way ahead of almost every country now because of the Biden administration, including Canada. Let me show you a few things. So we have this article by CTV News in 2015, but this is the Harper administration defending the Canadians' military contract with Saudi Arabia. This is the Harper administration right before Trudeau. So this was 2015. And then I have another article in 2018 saying Trudeau defends Saudi arms export deal, points finger at Harper government. So this was 2018. And when did Khashoggi died? Khashoggi?
It's around, I think, 2017 or
2017. I think once the pressures, and now I have another article from later 2018. I think the pressure from the Khashoggi, again, it's very interesting because when governments around the world were being pressured to stop their deal with Saudi Arabia, not because of the hundreds of thousands of Yemenis, but because of
2018. 2018 was
okay, so that actually matches perfectly with this, right? So this is in 2018. They were Canadian government was being pressured to reevaluate their sales with Saudi Arabia, which is amazing because one American resident gets this in more attention, gets more pressure on all these governments to reevaluate their deals with Saudi Arabia, more than hundreds of thousands of Yemenis. Okay, this shows that it's not even a citizen. This shows how much an American residentship gets you, right? So this is in 2018, March 2018. St. Justin Trudeau said defends Canada's arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Okay, so now the pressure is mounting up. This is again 2018, much later. I think this is in October 2018. Trudeau suggests he's willing to freeze Saudi arms export permits. Okay, so he's like, maybe we put a freeze on it. And this is why I was telling you about the history of this, which even if a country suggests that they might put a freeze on it, we shouldn't we shouldn't drop our guard. Like, we should keep at it with Biden because they might undo this freeze. So this is in late 2018. Trudeau said, oh, this is by Huffington Post. And then we have another, this is now August 2019. So he in late 2018 he said that maybe we will stop doing exports to Saudi Arabia. But then in late 2019 people were like, hey, what's up with that? So this is by CTV News again. August 2019, the headline says Trudeau pressed to give update on review of Canada's arms deal with Saudi Arabia. People are like, what's up with that? Why haven't you moved forward with this? And now we have here in April 2020, Canada lifted the suspension of arms export to Saudi Arabia, citing what was it? Oh, here, Ottawa
they
says,
allowed it again.
Yes, they allowed it again, saying says a renegotiation of contract will secure jobs of thousands of Canadians, but activists accuse of hypocrisy. Okay, so this is exactly what Trump administration was giving the excuse. So Trudeau was giving the same excuse that the Trump administration gave to why they need to sell arms to Saudi Arabia, citing jobs. I know this is, by the way, I know this is virtue signaling. Okay, I don't give a shit. It seemed like I need to virtue signal because seemed like I know it's going to sound very brave.
You're right. Absolutely right. I know you wanted me to disagree with you on something, but this is like
but let me
100% on point.
Yeah. If your job involves starvation of children and bombing of civilians, you shouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
And the fact that they cite this and this sells, like, I know this is like such a, you feel like, oh wow, Armin is against the murder of children, but apparently, like, you're like, oh wow, like, yes, so amazing, yay, I'm against murder, I'm against bombing civilians. Apparently, this is not as apparent to people as you think it is. If you want to make a joke about that, as if this is such an easy point to make, because this sells this idea of, hey, we need to sell weapons to Saudi Arabia because of jobs. It sells in United States and it sells in Canada to Canadian voters. The fact that this sells, that means there are people in Canada and in the United States that think like, hey, yes, I know maybe civilians are dying, but we need jobs. The fact that they're using this as a selling point means it does sell. That means that there are Canadians and Americans that are garbage human beings. I'm sorry, they are garbage human beings if this line of reasoning works on you. Okay, and then if this wasn't bad enough, this was April 29, 2020. Here, this was another June 2020. Actually,
when they doubled the weapon sales.
Yes, this is the Guardian. This is the Guardian saying Canada doubles weapon sales to Saudi Arabia. Great. So again, if you were one of the people who went and congratulated Canada for accepting Rahaf ahead of other countries and be like, yay, Canada understands human rights, now is your chance to go shame Canada. The liberal government of Trudeau is behind United States. So all these countries that felt like, hey, look at us, we're not as bad as the Trump administration. Look at these idiots. Look at United States. Look how ridiculous they are. Yay, we understand that global warming is real. Yay, we understand that human rights is important. Yay, we think like vaccines are important. We don't deny science. We're like, hey, look at us. We're like, Trump was such a great way for all these countries to look superior. Now you should all look inferior. You should all be shamed because the United States, that was a mocking, that was used as a way for every country to mock and feel superior. Now United States should be used as an example for all these countries to look inferior because they have a pause on weapon sales to Saudi Arabia and you do not. So shame on Canada and shame on Trudeau.
That was great. I think it got me a little wet. I couldn't. I think you said it perfect. I think that everything that you did over there, that clip, that video clip, aside from me saying that I got wet afterwards, like we would cut that out, but everything before that, we need to take that as a clip and we need to post it out there for free. I mean, just for everybody to watch. So hopefully we can do that. Yeah, but I completely agree with you. I mean, this has been one of the blind spots of. It's hard to say. It's kind of diminishing it to just call it a blind spot. But I mean, this has been a very, very deliberate strategy in Canada. And actually, this is, now that you mentioned, it's actually a really good example of what you were saying right at the beginning of the show, right? Like where you were saying that they take the release of these activists. And it's true. Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, they made a really big deal about the Raif Badawi thing. Saudis got mad at that. They cut off all diplomatic ties. All of that stuff over this, the activism, which was absolutely important. It was really good, and it was great that Canada took that stand. They accepted Rahaf al-Qunun. That was a great thing that Canada did that. All of that stuff is great. But when that's what's happening on the surface, and that's the stuff that's in the headlines, and in the background, they have this waffling on the arms deal, blaming it on the Harper government. I remember the excuses they gave before and what they said before. And I remember I talked about this and I explained the logic of it as well. They said, well, they made the deal. The Harper government made the deal. We can't just undo the deal. We can't have the kind of thing where every time there's a new party in government in power, then, all the deals become, we're going to lose credibility. It's like, what Trump did by ripping up the Iran deal. Nobody's going to make a deal with them anymore. So it damages credibility. So they have to carry it through. That was it. And then the suspension got lifted, and then they ended up doubling their arms sales, right, to the Saudis. So clearly that excuse was nothing more than just an excuse. They needed to keep it going because they wanted to save thousands of jobs. Okay, and these jobs basically, these people needed jobs so they could make weapons that the Saudis could use to bomb kids and kill people directly and indirectly, 233,000 of them in Yemen. So, I mean, it's clear as day. Like this entire sequence of events is clear as day. And you're right, like the Biden administration, by coming in and within the first week, in addition to all the other stuff he's done, I know it's been executive orders and that's controversial, but just freezing this arms deal, the arms sales to Saudi Arabia, it's more than anything, more than the arms sale thing, it's a provocation. Like to me, so I'm looking at the signs. Okay, the signs here are the Biden administration within the first 7 days. They're like, okay, we're going to freeze arms sales. They don't care anymore. They don't have to deliberate that much. They don't have to bother. They're like, we're just freezing the arms sales. What's Saudi Arabia doing in return? Like in that sense, Saudi Arabia is saying, well, this prisoner that we had, this women's rights activist, we're going to sentence her to 5 years, but she can be out by March. Right? And they've suspended that sentence. So if you look at these as signs, they're signs of a shifting power dynamic. They're signs of the U.S. basically being able to do what it wants to do with Saudi Arabia and having more power over Saudi Arabia. And on the other hand, of Saudi Arabia being more susceptible to U.S. pressure in a way like it wasn't in the last 4 years for sure, but also it never was before the last 4 years with any of the other administration, whether it was Clinton or Reagan or Obama or Bush or anybody. So it signals a change in the power dynamic between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. And I don't know if the same thing's going to bleed over into the other states, like with Canada and everything. But you're right. Like Biden administration actually does seem a lot more progressive now. The U.S. suddenly, like overnight, has gone from like far right to becoming like super progressive, and it's overtaking like all of these other countries who are still sort of doing behind the scenes bedroom deals, right, with the Saudis.
By the way, if Biden does undo this freeze, but I agree with everything you said. By the way, the blame is on the Americans who didn't push harder for this, right? Like, if this freeze stops, like if you are not paying, because the Biden administration is also maybe testing on how much of a congratulation, how much of a boost they're going to get from undoing this arms deal, and if it's not going to be significant enough, they might, like, if they feel like we didn't get that much of a boost, like maybe like we got, if they see like, hey, undo, like removing, like if you go and look at the Twitter sphere and YouTube scene, right, the fact that Biden undid the discrimination against trans people in the military, that is getting a lot of attention. Okay, and am I for that? Yes, I'm really glad that Biden did that. Okay, however, the number of people that are going to be impacted, the positive impact on trans people in the military by that is astronomically less than this. Okay, and that shouldn't be controversial to say. And if they notice that, like, hey, I could do this and people are celebrating it more, and I'm going to get more of a political boost from people by smaller things that people care more about than bigger things that people don't seem to care about, then you're motivating them to move only in that direction. Okay, motivating them. Actually, let me show you. Don't make this meme become a reality. Hold on. I know the people who are you might not be able to see this, but maybe Ali could describe it when I bring it up. Okay, here.
All right.
Do you know what this? Okay, here.
So yeah, this meme, what it's showing, it's got a picture of there's Republicans, and then there's a fighter plane underneath it, and Democrats fighter plane. The fighter plane's dropping bombs. The only difference is the Republicans' plane is completely plain with no decorations or anything like that. The Democrats' plane has, let's see, it's got a Black Lives Matter banner on it. It's got Yes She Can on it, and it's got a rainbow flag on it. But it's still doing the exact same thing. It's still dropping bombs. Right. I mean, it's a brilliant cartoon. Yeah, I agree with you. But so I have a question. I know that we only have, I think, probably 5 minutes because we started late. But there's a question from Bulbul, and that's exactly what I was going to actually ask you. And I want to know what your insight is on this. So Bulbul's saying, won't this impact the U.S. economy negatively? If so, won't Biden lose popularity? So I have to ask you one thing related to this is that what does the U.S. need from the Saudis right now? Because before they were worried about the oil prices going up. Oil prices in the Saudis, if they went up at that point 10, 15 years ago, you would really have potentially a recession, right, in the U.S. You'd have the loss of unemployment would skyrocket. All these terrible things would happen. Now, right, that's just not the case. So what does the U.S. need from Saudis? Judging by like what's going on right now, what we just talked about right now, it seems like the U.S. has the majority of the leverage over the Saudis, and the Saudis know it.
Well, I mean, the U.S. still needs Saudi's oil and also the military advantages that Saudi give to U.S. bases. They still need all of that, but it's very difficult for Saudi to deny any of that to United States. It's not that the United States doesn't need Saudi Arabia. United States does need Saudi Arabia. It's just that Saudi Arabia needs United States more than, it's like the things that Saudi Arabia has for United States, they're in a difficult position for them to withhold that. Like they are when it comes to money, they're desperate right now. So it's not like we're not going to sell less oil to you. Like you can't do that, right? And when it comes to I mean, given how easy it is to get political capital by being anti-Saudi, if Saudi Arabia stops buying weapons from the United States, and stop or does anything, deny United States anything when it comes to the military bases or anything in the Middle East to United States, then that's just like a green flag for United States to be very aggressive. I mean, United States is
but Armin, one important thing about like what you're saying about the military bases, the U.S. military presence in Saudi Arabia is something that the Saudis actually need more from the U.S. than the U.S.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Because the Saudis, when in '91, I remember I was in Riyadh at the time, right? And then in '91, my whole family was there. When the first Gulf War happened, they were desperate for the Saudis to come in because they had the threat from Saddam Hussein, right? So, they were desperate for the Americans to come in. And then that's the thing that pissed off Osama bin Laden, because then you had the infidel in the Holy Land and so on. So they've that's something that benefits both of them. But I'm just wondering if there's anything unique that is like the oil. I know they still need the oil, but it's not as big of a deal as it used to be.
They need them not to escalate stuff with Iran. But that again, that's going to be more. Saudi Arabia is also doesn't want to, after what happened to Aramco.
Yeah,
Saudi Arabia
across the Atlantic. Right?
What?
I mean, I'm saying the U.S. is across the Atlantic. I mean, Saudi Arabia has more of an interest in deterring Iran, and so does Israel. Then.
I mean, I think United States really wants Saudi Arabia and not to. The Biden administration probably wants Saudi Arabia not to cause something that will force the United States hands to drag them in.
Yeah.
Right? Because Saudi Arabia is like scared without U.S. support on how to deal with Iran. That's why they really pushed Trump to make an alliance between Israel and all of them. Maybe without the same level of U.S. support, they need each other more than they needed before, right? They need to be working with each other because they have less support than they had before, right? Or else that's what they expected to happen, right?
Yeah.
But because of Israel and Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries, they want U.S. presence there because they have this big brother that would take care of them if somebody bullied them too much. They might imagine if you're like get bullied at school and you had your big brother defending you every time somebody like looked at you funny, but now your big brother is moving moving out of the school or something. So maybe you go push some bully so that they hit you. So you go show your big brother, like, look, if you leave me, this is what's going to happen to me. Like, and there might be an attempt to drag a United States back to the Middle East in some way. But again, that's probably what the United States wants to avoid.
I think the big brother, big brother, not big brother means so many different things, but the analogy that you gave about having an older brother to defend you probably works best, because the best way to, I think, summarize this is that whatever interests the U.S. has in the Saudis right now, whatever they need the Saudis for, like those same things are what the Saudis need even more than the U.S.
Exactly.
Like those exact same interests are actually benefit the Saudis probably even more than they benefit the U.S. So the U.S. is in a very good position
when it comes to you guys take care of this yourself.
Yeah,
but it also gives United States an excuse to be like, I don't even need to push you. I don't need to give you anything to do these things because you need this. That's why they're like, you know what? We're gonna step out and you guys take care of this
for your own good.
Yes,
of course.
You guys it's basically bringing the Israelis like this is one good thing that came out of the Trump administration, I guess, was like pretty like, hey, you guys maybe talk to each other. Like again, there are very few things that the Trump administration did right. Okay, there's very few, as in less than 3. Okay, one was the assassination of Qasem Soleimani. I think let's just say 2. The other one is bringing the Gulf Arab countries and Israel together, and I think that also plays well for Biden, because Biden is like, you guys now are together, so you guys figure this out.
He also pardoned Lil Wayne, so don't forget about that.
Oh, yes.
That was really important. That was one of the great things he did.
Not Assange, not Snowden, but yeah, sure.
All right. Okay. So I think. Do you have anything else to say, Armin? Or
no. I think it was good. Yeah.
Let's wrap this up, everybody. Thank you for this. I think this is a topic that we're probably going to keep on revisiting because I'm very. This is actually one of the most interesting things about this administration, and not just with Saudi Arabia, but also with the rest of the region and how that relationship with the U.S. will change. So we're going to keep on revisiting it. Meantime, we're at the end of January. So on Sunday night, on January 31st, we're going to have our end of month Q&A. It's going to go on for longer than these regular episodes go on for. It's completely free and it's public, so you can bring your friends. We're going to put up just a YouTube link for everybody and bring in, ask your questions about anything and everything to me and Armin. So we're going to celebrate the end of January that way. If you are listening to this on audio and you like what you hear, you can actually, we do about 5 episodes a month. You can get all 5 episodes for as little as $1 a month if you join Patreon. So you just go to patreon.com/SJME and you can sign up over there. If you can't join Patreon, then please go on iTunes and give us a rating and rate us or share it on your social media, whatever you can do. And if you're hearing this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so that it notifies you every time there's a new episode.
Yes. And another call to action is that if you're American, I suggest that you go out and either talk about or post about how happy you are about the freeze that Biden is doing when it comes to arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Make this a relevant topic, make it trending a little bit more, and be like and make sure that you mention that you hope that this is not just a temporary freeze, that this is hopeful, that you're looking at this. I don't care if you're a Trump supporter or a Biden supporter or neither. You should recognize that this is a good thing. You could, if you're a Trump supporter, not dealing with Saudi Arabia should be something easy for you to celebrate. You could be like, hey, I was a Trump supporter, but even I could recognize that this is a good thing. Go do this. Just recognize this as a good thing. Make this a positive, something that politicians could see that they could bank on as virtue signaling and getting votes. And if you're not an American and your country is behind on the United States on this, like if you're a Canadian, for example, go and shame your government and remind them that now United States that they used to mock as a ridiculous country, go and shame them for being behind United States. Make sure that this costs them. Just simple post talking about it. Make this an issue. Okay, this is my suggestion as a call to action to anybody who's listening.
Yeah, I am actually that's like the first thing I'm going to do throughout the rest of the week, is especially that contrast with what Biden is doing and what Trudeau's doing. Like, it's the first thing I'm going to do, because I actually didn't know that they suspended the arms sales. I didn't know that Biden did that until we started the show. I know we scheduled the show and everything, but at that time he hadn't done it. This just happened several hours ago. So I think, so this was a pretty nice surprise to get right in the beginning of the show. Anyway.
So I'm surprised for me too. This is so 7 days in. This is amazing.
Yeah. So everybody, thank you very much. Thanks a lot for joining us. And we're going to see you on Sunday night. And that's when you bring all your friends. Same time. And we'll see you then. Thank you very much, everyone.
Well, before I go, Bob was saying, I live in India. We persecute Muslims and get awards from Saudi regimes. Fun times.
Well, right. And that's not the only place.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
The secular jihadists have been made possible thanks to the Illuminati and the covert support of Israel and the CIA. That's what we have been told, but we haven't received our checks yet. If you like what we do, please support us. Share the podcast with your friends. Write and tweet us with topic and guest suggestions. Or head over to secularjihadist.com and give $1 or more for exclusive access to live video. Have your questions read and answered on the air, and more. Till next time, may the flying spaghetti monster be with you.